record. You guys all should have gotten that little recording in progress message. And let's begin. So thank you for coming this evening for the Catch the King General Training Webinar. As you guys probably know, our Catch the King main event is coming up at the end of this week, October 17th through the 20th. So better late than never. We are here to learn. I just want to do a quick shout out for Gabby Kinney. Here is her information right here. She is our community engagement project manager here at Wetlands Watch and with Catch the King. She unfortunately could not be here tonight, but she has been head charge on Catch the King for the past 2 years and done some wonderful, wonderful work. Okay, so for tonight, I'm just going to go over the agenda. First, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction, as well as a Catch the King orientation and background about the program and what it is you guys are doing. Then a safety chat on how to be safe and responsible when collecting this data, as well as our 2024 Catch the King schedule and some resources available. And then I'm going to do an app overview at the end to make sure everybody has as much time to ask as many questions as they would like. I know that the app is usually where we volunteers spend the most time, so I wanted to allot for that time, but if we end early, we end early. And then last, of course, questions and answers. I'm here for you as your main resource. So without further ado, my name is Josie Shostak, and I am the new Assistant Outreach Coordinator for Catch the King this year. I have been on since August 2024. And hi cat, cute. You might see my cats come in and out of the screen. I will let you know I have two. So don't mind the guest appearances. I also graduated from the College of Charleston studying marine biology and environmental sustainable sciences this past spring. So I'm a recent undergraduate graduate, and now I'm here doing this work in Williamsburg, where I grew up. So tell me your name, what region or area you'll be mapping in, and then your favorite short line. And it doesn't have to be where you map. So since James is on screen, I'm going to make you start.
All right, that sounds good. So Jimmy Schaefer, I'm in Newport News at Menchville High School. And what else? My favorite shoreline, you said?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Let me think. I really like to be out and taking walks around like Grandview and Hampton. And so I like that. I like back there where it gets tidal marsh and stuff back there. Yeah.
That's a good one. Thank you. All right, Josie, go ahead and take it away.
It's me. I'm Josie Bergstrom. I live in Norfolk, like 2 blocks from one of the most photographed areas of flooding in Norfolk. I live right around the corner from Surrey Crescent. My favorite shoreline, that is a really hard question. I'm going to go with there's a little tiny beach, not much of a beach at all, over by ODU, where my husband and I, and that's my, it's a small, I've seen dolphins in the river there. It's pretty amazing. That's something you wouldn't have seen 10 years ago.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'll go to Bruce next.
Yeah, I'm Bruce Glendenning and from the city of Williamsburg. I'm a kayaker, also a master naturalist with the historic rivers area. My favorite shoreline could be like the upper reaches of what's called Powhatan Creek that flows into the James River at Jamestown Island. College Landing is a popular place in Williamsburg. Of course, it's had flooding in the past. I did one about 4 years ago, I think, with Catch the Tide. And unfortunately, like something like the upper reaches of Powhatan Creek, where I couldn't get cell service, so that didn't help too much. So hopefully it's improved the last 4 years and we're off and running.
And then I'll have CJ Sweet.
Hi there. I'm from Gloucester County, James Store region, and I would like to do a survey along the public boat landing in Hartfield. It's a very small little space. I'm relatively new to the area, so my favorite shoreline is along the Monterey Bay in California. Still getting acquainted with the East Coast. But Machikamako is a lovely place to go.
Hey, Monterey is beautiful. Like I said, as a marine bio student, we talk about her all the time. Well, thank you for sharing. And then I'll go to Jennifer next.
Hi, everybody. I'm from Newport News, Virginia. I'm at CNU. And I'm actually really fond of our Newport News shorelines, in particular Hilton Beach. We have this really tiny beach in our neighborhood. I've done some field work there and looked at some data from there, so I'm just very fond of it.
And then we have Corinne. Sorry if that was a mispronunciation.
No, it's okay. It's Corinne.
Corinne, gotcha.
I'm from Williamsburg, so I'm actually from Queens Lake, so I guess like Queens Creek is the one I'm most familiar with. But I'm actually going to be in Norfolk, and I'm actually working on a documentary about sea level rise. So I'm going to be filming a bit of the community engagement event. So if anybody's interested in like being filmed or helping out a little bit or just giving a little bit of info, you can contact me after. But yeah, I'll be in Norfolk for some of the days and then hopefully get a little bit of other locations as well.
Well, that's wonderful. Make sure if you get the chance in Norfolk, stop by the Stockley Gardens Art Festival because they are holding it during the King Tide in a place
Okay.
that's horrifically. So that'll be
Okay.
it'd be an interesting spot for your story. Well, thank you for sharing.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And then Dean.
Hi, this is Dean Shostak. I'm Josie's dad, actually. I'm a Virginia master naturalist, and I have COVID, so I'm not even in the same city that Josie's in right now. So I've done Catch the King before, and I like mapping along the Colonial Parkway up around Williamsburg.
All right. Well, thank you for speaking over. I hope you feel better. And thank you everyone for sharing. Just nice to get a little bit of an introduction before we get into things. All right. And please feel free to interrupt me with questions, or if there's a question in the chat, please let me know. I am on my own tonight, so it is not the easiest to monitor that. So keep me in the space then. Thank you. All right. We're gonna, yay. Okay. So let me back out a little bit outside of Catch the King and talk about what is Wetlands Watch. So we are an environmental nonprofit organization, but I'd say the thing that makes us special is we kind of have our hand in a lot of different areas. So of course, community science, our main project is the Catch the King work, but we also have certain people in charge of policy and green infrastructure projects having our hands in law and legislation towards conservation efforts and sea level rise interactions as well. We have a new mission statement, which I have across here, and I will be reading it because I have not memorized it yet. When I say new, I mean as in a week and a half ago, we have this mission statement, but it says to enhance natural resilience, bolster community adaptation efforts, and protect and restore wetlands throughout Virginia. We advance climate adaptation by working collaboratively with a wide variety of stakeholders and by implementing solution-focused strategies that unify and connect. And you see this image here. The reason we have this arrow is because we like to say this is kind of where we work. As I said, we have our hand in multiple different areas of community science. And
excuse me, I'm not getting anything on the screen. It just says loading.
oh, is everyone else not getting my screen share?
I'm not getting your screen share.
I think we have a screen shared, just maybe a wrong tab or something. I don't know, but yeah, we just see a black screen.
Oh, well, thanks for letting me know. That
That's
is
loading, yeah.
awesome. Can't even tell that I was reading off of it because you couldn't see it. All right.
I'm here too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. How are we doing now if I put the, can I put this
That
in?
That's
Uh,
better.
Now it went to loading.
Whoops, there it went.
Okay, so we got to keep it out of slideshow mode that, or just in this mode. That's totally fine. Can y'all see that well enough? Is it big enough for everyone?
Yes.
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 We will do it this way. That is totally okay. Okay. So here are all the things that I was saying to a black screen. So what we mainly focus on is finding creative and effective ways for coastal communities to adapt to climate change. So when I say green infrastructure, we work with a program called CBLP, which is the Chesapeake Bay CPLP. LP, Chesapeake Bay Land Planning Management, something like that. Sorry, that is not my field. But what they do is they work on creating living shorelines and green infrastructure in the way of having salt marshes expand so we can account for the horizontal migration of wetlands, because as sea levels rise, our plants cannot grow fast enough. So therefore our wetlands are starting to move inland and, in order to not get drowned over. Okay, so that is kind of Wetlands Watch. And what I'm going to be talking about specifically today is the community science project, which is Catch the King. So I'll do it this way. So Catch the King launched kind of softly in 2014 after Hurricane Sandy, where our founder Skip Stiles was like, hey, so this was a lot of damage and a lot of bad that just happened, and we don't have much data for it. We need to figure out a way to collect this data. So the Sea Level Rise app was born. The first time that the Sea Level Rise app was used was in 2017. And because of Dave Mayfield, one of our founders as well, that was big in media presence in Norfolk and the Hampton Roads area, we actually won a Guinness World Record for most contributions to an environmental survey ever. And to this day, we still hold that record, and would like to break it again if we can. If you're wondering what this data contributes to, why are you using this app? What are these points going to? These maps contribute to flood modeling and sea level rise prediction models with VIMS, which is the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. So what we do is we send our data to Dr. Derek Loftus every year, and he takes this flood model and makes it more and more accurate of an algorithm to prepare what is the normal high tide going to look like and what are the king tides going to become. Because right now it is projected that our normal king tides right now are going to become our typical high tides, as well as public awareness and safety and being a part of the climate solution in your area. That is why we do this. This is real stuff that is happening here in coastal Virginia that affects all of our communities. I think it's wonderful that tonight, hearing how many different regions everybody is a part of, still affecting all of us the same. And then finally, organized teams and data collection all over coastal Virginia, and now North Carolina. We've received some grant money from NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, say that 10 times fast. A lot of acronyms in this world. That now we are doing Catch the King in North Carolina as well. So they will also be participating around this time. Their king was a little bit earlier, but they are still data collecting right now. So it's really exciting to be expanding down the coast. So why is it called Catch the King? I said king tide. What does that really mean? So as many of you may know, with the Earth, the moon orbits around the Earth in an elliptical pattern, so not in a perfect circle. When the moon is closest to the Earth in its orbit, it creates the strongest gravitational pull, which creates what we call a king tide. This is our biggest tide of the year, and it happens in what we call the perigee tide. It's called the Perigean spring tide, and yet ours is large in the fall, but itty bitty in the spring, because when the moon is closest on our side of the planet, it is furthest away on the opposite side. So they get a really small tide, and then it switches in the spring. So that is why annually our king tide is always in the fall. So this year it is October 17th through the 20th. And that is why we chose to Catch the King, because not only is it a reliable data point where we can go back to annually and be accurate, but again, this king tide is what's going to give us a window in the future of what our normal high tides are going to look like. How much is this flood going to continue to impact our communities, and where is it going to impact it the most? And then Elvis, because you always need a fun character for a program. So we have our king, Elvis, as our representative here in this bottom right corner. So this image here on the right is a tide calendar showing when the king tide is and when we had our wet run earlier. And so we work with VINS, and they put this out every year, which is wonderful for our volunteers to know when this is going to happen. And this is a calendar that's useful outside of Catch the King. I mean, as someone, again, who went to college in Charleston, South Carolina, to plan your trip to Charleston during a king tide would mean you couldn't get on the peninsula. So it's a really, really useful resource for a lot of reasons. So what is Catch the King? Well, this is the flooding that we are seeing here in coastal Virginia. As you can see from these images, that is not just at the beach. It's not just on the roadways. It's not just in the Hampton Roads area, Norfolk, Eastern Shore, Williamsburg. It's everywhere. We are now getting to the point where in the Hampton Roads and Norfolk area and Virginia Beach, we are having students have flood days. The way that we're used to snow days, now there are flood days where school buses can't pick up their students because it is so flooded, and so they have to cancel school. You can see in this image here, all these students that are piled here up at the corner to get into this bus because it simply could not pass down that way. And these are becoming more often as well. Outside of that, as I said, this is a tidal cause that we're seeing. So you can see there's nothing in the sky but little wispy clouds here and there. This is not a rain issue. So these trash cans are circled because, as I said, this is a tidal issue. So when this king tide comes in and these trash cans get knocked over and whatever contents are in the trash can gets spilled into that water, the tide will then eventually recede back into the bay and bring all that garbage and trash and nutrient load with it. The reason this is super scary is because we have a partner project called Measure the Muck, and they were looking at, hey, how much gunk is really, how much muck is really in this water. And Margie, which is Skip Stiles' wife, is the founder of this project. And in one day during the king tide, they hit the nitrogen load that is safe to interact with, not safe to drink, safe to interact with. So when you see people swimming and playing in this water, they really shouldn't be. It is not safe. But what's exciting is I heard from Margie that in future years, they're going to actually start looking at microplastics as well in this water. So I'll talk a little bit more about Measure the Muck later, but it's a really wonderful partner project that we have while doing Catch the King. So I keep saying community science, and the reason we love to stress that is because truly this program is for everyone, whether it be the Girl Scouts or Master Naturalist and Master Gardener. This is Margie, that woman who's in charge of Measure the Muck, and her daughter. This is a woman with a newborn child strapped to her chest mapping. And here are some middle schoolers. We want community science to be accessible for everyone. And so that's why we like to call it that. So what is the Sea Level Rise app? Well, this here is just kind of a screenshot from the app showing you how we download this data. So when we download our data from the Catch the King event that you guys go out either once, up to 4 times or more even during this Catch the King weekend, you can go out on one day or you can go out on multiple. It is completely up to you. All data is good data. But when you take these data points, we get this Excel sheet, which tells us the exact GPS coordinate of where you were, what time it was, who's the person that took it, what number pinpoint it was, and stuff like that. So that is the information that we are able to transfer to Dr. Derek Lotus to be able to create that composite map. And so I just want to show this because, again, we have a wonderful range from all over Virginia now. As you can see, these blue points that are very large and concentrated here, that was 2017. As I told you, that was the year we won the Guinness World Record, as well as having a bunch of outreach in the Norfolk and Hampton Roads area. The red points are 2023. So although we've lost some volunteers as a result of COVID, as most things have, we have been able to geographically expand a lot, even to the point where we now have an Alexandria region up in the north. So we are slowly getting those numbers back, but it's really great to see that geographic expansion. And then this is also the one thing I want to talk about. This is that flood model, or at least a screenshot of it. Do you guys see this blue here? That blue is that flood model prediction. That is where they are predicting that water to come in and take over. So when we send our data points, that is what's validating that blue. Our partner, Dr. Derek Lotus, is able to move the model to our data points to show, hey, this is truly where that high tide is. Even if the model is off, let's say 2 or 3 feet, he can fix it. And that's why this work is so important, because we are making an accurate picture for what the future is going to look like. So why we need you? Well, you are able to capture real-time flood data in your community. You are taking photos of flood impacts, whether it is built to natural infrastructure or our infrastructure. You are a steward for our wetlands and natural areas that are getting impacted by the sea level rise. You are forming a community. Everyone here tonight on this call cares about this for one reason or another, as a way to connect people. And then learning about climate change impacts. Awareness is how we are able to communicate these issues. And if we don't understand them, we're not able to communicate them. So by learning about this kind of thing, you're able to communicate it to your community that it's directly affecting once again. And then a reason that's not on here is we can't be everywhere at once. High tide is for roughly an hour. So we only have roughly an hour of collection time during each high tide. And so it takes a community to be able to see, hey, how are all these places getting affected by the same thing at the same time when we can't be there? So that's why we really need you. So these are just two little videos showing you how, let me know if you can't see. And this is how you walk along a flood line. So you walk along right outside the line with this, making sure you have waterproof shoes. Like I said, this is not water you want to be in. You take, I would say, 3 to 5 steps, depending on your gait, and then you stop and drop a pin. You just want to be able to have a clear line when you are doing this. But you don't need to do pin, 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 pin. You don't need to do a pin every step, but you also don't want to do one pin at the beginning and one at the end and call it a line. So I hope that gives a little bit of context on how to actually physically walk these flood lines. And then these are just some pictures of those flood lines. So when you are collecting your pins, you will see something like this as the line you are creating along that high tide. And when you zoom out, you'll even see it even cooler in the map. All these different types of pinpoints. These are probably multiple people mapping these beaches. Sometimes it's one. Flooding, I said, doesn't just happen in beaches. We have a lot of storm drain flooding as well, which is where we get points like this, where some storm drain has a lot of flooding. And because a lot of our areas, especially for those in the Hampton Roads and Newport News area, there's not a lot of semi-permeable pavement, which means there's a lot of pavement that the water cannot seep through in any way. So as the water floods onto it, it just fans out. So that's why we get these funny little shapes like this. Shoreline photos. So I will go into the app details later, do not worry, but I just wanted to show this because it's a really good point to bring up that if you take a photo, we want to see the line you're mapping. I mean, we love sunset photos of the water, but that's not really the kind of photo we want you to take. And for how many photos to take, I like to say 1 at your start, 1 at your end, and then anything you find interesting. Like if I'm walking along this line here and I see a dead jellyfish and I want to take a picture of the dead jellyfish, go ahead, upload that. But you don't need to have a photo for every single point. And when you take photos, you want it to show information, not just be a pretty sight. And then, like I said, I will be talking more about the app later, but this is just something in it that I wanted to discuss real quick. We were talking about issues with service, as Bruce brought up, and this is kind of a trouble spotting way around that. So trouble spots are places that there are flooding, that like their road is impacted, that maybe nobody knows, that you want to let us know about. And if there isn't service, that is why there is that interactive map that I have dropped into the link or into the chat. And that's so you can let us know where this flooding issue is happening if you do not have service in the area that you are trying to add that point. So we haven't been able to figure out how to use this app with no service. So I would say that is kind of our back end solution for that at the moment. I would say that the service has gotten better because the app has been gone through a bunch of updates and developments. But these are 2 ways kind of around that to talk about, hey, this is an issue that is not getting seen or that maybe we don't know about, because that's part of this too, finding out what are the new issues. So some data collection tips, like I said, wear waterproof shoes and then put your phone in a protective waterproof bag. It is an electronic, it is not water friendly, but that could be just a Ziploc bag. Does not have to be a nice kayak around the neck, could just be a Ziploc. If there's a part that you are mapping that is inaccessible, whether it's like a dune or a thick like briar or anything, only map where it's safe. Do not hurt yourself trying to map. A lot of times we have those rock berms that go out and people will try to climb on those and slip and hurt themselves. We really don't want you getting hurt. And then this is also a really, really big point I would like to stress. Do not map on private property unless it is your private property or you have full consent from a friend and it's there and you've talked to them about it. We are not able to map on private property, so no trespassing, please. And I will say, if you're looking at the interactive map, we have an area where you can add little notes of, hey, if you come here, make sure you turn left, because if you turn right, that's all private property. People will put that into those notes. So you should know all the information before you arrive to a place. That is also something I'd like to mention, buddy system. We like to map with a friend. If you're mapping somewhere that you've never mapped before, especially map with a friend. But it's just a better way to stay safe. And if you're mapping in a place that there is some road activity, it takes like 30 seconds to not be looking the right way. So we always suggest mapping with a buddy. There is a liability waiver within the registration. So we'll talk about registration in a little bit. But please, 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 if you are going to map with us this year, fill out that registration form. It'll take you maybe 5 minutes. As I said, if you are mapping somewhere you have never gone to before, it would be smart to go out and evaluate the site before mapping, definitely at low tide. Dress for the weather and water. With the king tide, we have a projected of what we think it's going to be, but depending on the winds, it could be worse than what we're projecting, or it could be a little nicer. So make sure you keep an eye on the weather, because that will affect things. And then all of you are over 18, so I don't have to worry about that one. But if you are mapping with your kid, make sure you are with your kid mapping if they're under 18. And yeah, I guess that's all my safety info. All right, I'm going to stop there real quick for questions. Does anyone have any questions on the general background of like, what is Catch the King and why we're doing it?
Yes, what are the dates, the specific dates that we will be mapping? Are there dates and times?
Yes, ma'am. So as I said, the dates are going to be October 17th through the 20th. So that is this Thursday through Sunday. You will want to map at the high tide, and I will show you in our resources section how you can find out what is the high tide for your area if you're not sure. And I will let you all know now that the earliest high tide is probably like 11 and the latest is like 11:45. So you have time to have coffee before you go mapping this year if you'd like. Definitely not too early. So I'll go into that a little bit later.
I can raise this question now, but I think you're going to take care of it further on. When we're doing the mapping, many people may go to the same place. Do we know what's going on in real time of other people mapping? Because I don't want to sort of keep doing the same place that somebody's been versus I could search out places that haven't been done.
Yeah, that's a great question. So people will typically share where they're mapping in the app, in the messaging portal. We've already had some people put in where they're going to be mapping. This serves for two reasons. One, if you're new and you'd like to map with a buddy and you don't want to do it by yourself, you know where you could go, where you could have someone to map with. But then again, also, if you see an entire group of people going to the Colonial Parkway, maybe the Jamestown Island flooding would be better to map that day. So I would say that the messaging is the best access for that, as well as your tide captain. So I know you are Williamsburg, and Tim Stanley, he is our tide captain for the area. So you will be able to reach out to him and find out, hey, do you know where people are mapping or where I should map or shouldn't map? I will say that most places are big enough that if multiple people show up, it's okay, unless there is like a class. We do have a class this year that is mapping along Gloucester Point. So we're going to have plenty of pins specifically on Gloucester Point at the Vims Beach. But outside of that, I wouldn't say that someone being there should deter you. The more the merrier is how we see it. I hope that answers your question. And Tim Stanley will also, for you in Williamsburg, and there are some other tide captains as well, but our tide captains have check-in stations set up this year. So from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Billsburg Brewery / Marina, Tim Stanley will be set up with a table with Catch the King supplies on it, swag, so you can go to sticker, pin, like fanny pack, all that fun stuff. And then some lemonade and donuts just for snacks as well. So we have our tide captains set up in each region if we can, to have just a resource on deck to be able to go talk to.
You might be covering this later, but how can I make sure I have the most recent version of the app?
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'll bring that up now in case anyone needs to make sure they download it. So the most recent version of the app you should have is 3.8, I believe. let me just double check that before I say that, and it's not true. Let me see. And the way you can tell is by going into the app and then hitting the 3 lines on the left side, and it should be 3.08 or 3.07. Either will work for today. If you want to make sure, if you have 3.07, 3.06, and you want to make sure you have 3.08, the best way to force your phone to upgrade it is to just delete the app and re-download it. But for today's purposes, you are fine with 3.07 or 3.08 for today. The last update that we have had was very, very little things.
I just opened the app, so how do I find out the most recent version?
So when you open the app and you are, oh, I'm gonna have to take off my background. But when you open the app, it goes to your main page, hit the 3 lines, the 3 white lines in the top left corner. And then you should see at the very bottom as the menu pulls out, app version blank.
And what versions did you say were good for to catch the king?
3.06, 3.07, or 3.08
Okay.
for the thing.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome, wonderful. All right, so I'm gonna get into resources and then we will dive into app training. All right, so for resources, first is our kind of one-stop shop for all Catch the King planning stuff, whether that's training guides, videos, tide prediction models, how to interpret those tide charts so you know, hey, what am I really looking at? The interactive maps and the composite map as well, and then newsletter signups. Our newsletter we like to have because it's kind of, we'll send it out once a week. I'll be sending out the main one tomorrow for this whole weekend. So if anyone is not signed up for the newsletter, feel free to send me a quick email and I will add you to the list, no problem. But it's again, our one-stop shop of, hey, this is all our most important information. So I will show you what that page looks like. Is everyone able to see my screen still as I change tabs? Awesome. So we just got a recent website update. So if anyone is a veteran and is like, this doesn't look familiar, you're right. We have a new website now. So this is what our FAQs page looks like. What is the Sea Level Rise app? How do I download it? How do I use it? We have a photo tutorial guide, a written tutorial guide, and 2 video tutorial guides. Where should I map? This is where you can follow instructions on how to read a tide chart, and then click on the tide charts and find your area. Where should I map? Again, this is where blue pins where people have taken data in the years past, and the red for flood spots as well. And then that composite map of all that compiled data, just if you're curious. And then I have virtual office hours and all this different, but basically, like I said, one-stop shop for everything. Pretty easy to navigate. And then again, we have a written guide, a photo guide, and a video guide available on our FAQs page. If after today I go through the app training, you're like, I'm still having trouble, I'm a little confused, and you want to try to figure it out on your own, we do have those resources available for you. Like I said, I really highly suggest you guys sign up for the newsletter. We announce all of our main events, including our art contest that I'm starting this year, which I'll talk about in a little bit, as well as an appreciation event. We want to show you guys how much we appreciate you for being a part of this project because we couldn't have it without your involvement. So this February/March, we'll be having a big appreciation event and all the volunteers will be invited. So this newsletter really gets all that information out there, and we are only loud during the Catch the King season. I will get very, very quiet. You won't be having your emails flooded or anything like that. It's just so you can stay up to date on this Catch the King specifically.
I'm glad to know you're not participating in more flooding.
Fair enough. So here, I just wanted to show you guys the map real quick. So I'm gonna zoom in. These are those blue pins that I was talking about where you can see where people have dropped flood data in the past. The cool thing is that this is kind of a Google Maps version of ArcGIS. So what I think is really cool is if you hit this little arrow button, you can get directions to any of these spots. So you don't have to type in some long coordinate, GPS coordinate. You can just get directions through Google Maps for all of these. And they have different layers. Like if I didn't want to see 2023, I could just take that away. If I only wanted to see 2023, I could take everything else away. You can look at it by region. You can look at it by year. It can get real complicated or real simple, up to you. But this is a new map that Gabby has created, and I just think it is a wonderful resource, especially given our issues when we don't have service. How do we know what's going on? This is a way for you to input that and let us know what is happening. So I just wanted to share that. And then here are those tide charts. So every day we have 2 high tides and 2 low tides. So the main time that I would say most people map are during the morning high tide. If you are gung-ho with a headlamp and you have signed that liability waiver, power to you, soldier, if you go out there for that evening high tide. But we do not expect that, of course. Like I said, most people go during the morning tide, but this is how you can read that. And this is what NOAA's looks like. And if you need more help with that, I actually have office hours and could help you later. This is that composite map. It is available to the public. I don't have a link here, but it is on our FAQs page. So if you are a data nerd like me and you want to go in there and look at that and see how that works, that is free access for you as well. And then I told you about this already. This is our tidal calendar. We get a new one every year, and it's just really wonderful to know, hey, for travel, hey, for Catch the King, hey, when are these roads going to flood? And ironically enough, ODU and William & Mary having homecoming this weekend during the Catch the King. So that's going to be interesting as well. And then for anyone that is a Facebook person, we have a Facebook group if you'd like to join. Again, this is also about building community and getting in touch with people who care about the same things as you. So highly suggest that. So office hours. So my last office hours will be tomorrow from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So if tonight you think of a question after tonight, or you need a little bit more help with something, or you just want to chat about something specifically, I am here for you as a resource. I will be there from 3 to 4 on Zoom. This is the Zoom link. It is also on our website as well as in our newsletter. I will be sending out the last newsletter, like I said, tomorrow before the official event. But if you need this information, message me. And if this time doesn't work for you and you're like, hey, but I need to talk to you and I need to have a meeting, just email me and we can set something up too. So just wanted to let y'all know that was available. This is the official registration. So I'm going to show you this. This is what it looks like. If you have this, if you see this Catch the King 2012 registration, you're in the right place. You can scan this QR code, or, which is really easy, if you just look up wetlandswatch.org, you see this moving banner here, click on it, and then it'll send you to our Catch the King page. And then if you hit this button, register for Catch the King, ta-da, that's it. So super easy. That's how you register. Please, please, please register before Thursday or before when you start taking data. And if you need help finding that later, let me know. There are a few in-app resources that we have added for those who have used the app in the past. Here are some new stuff. So first, we are partnered with DCR, so the Department of Conservation and Recreation, on something called Share Your Flood Stories. So a lot of this work is very data heavy, but flooding isn't just data. There's a story behind that. I spoke to one woman on the Eastern Shore, as she told me, she was like, I'm so sick of all this flooding that keeps happening in my ditch. And so I planted a bunch of grass in it and now it doesn't flood anymore. Now the grasses are taking care of it. Like, and it's that kind of thing, talking about how the individual handles, how they experience that water, what they do to manage it, where they might need help managing it. That's really why we wanted this, because it's more than just data points. It's more than just flood lines. It's a story too. So this is a way for you to share your story, especially if you are mapping on your private property, and talk about how flooding here in coastal Virginia affects you. And then we have a help button. So let's say you are in the field and you can't get a hold of me, or you can't get a hold of the tide captain, and you don't have a buddy and you need help. We have a help button in that menu where it sends you to a frequently asked questions page for help with the app to try to help you problem solve in the field. The other thing is there is also a troubleshooting form. We know that the app is not perfect, and we know that it is still in the process of being developed, and we want to hear from you on how we can fix those things. So this troubleshooting form, you can either fill it out in the field or after the field, but it's a way for you to let us know, hey, this is my name, this is where I mapped, this is the issue that I was running into, this is the type of cell service I have, this is the type of phone I have, this is the version of phone I have, just so we can really try or do our best to narrow down where these issues are as we talk to our development team. So before October 17th, you want to make sure that you register with Catch the King, update your Sea Level Rise app to version 3.08. like I said, you can either delete the app and re-download it. If you end up having 3.07, which I know a few people have told me, they're like, I can't seem to get 3.08. That is okay. You have everything that you need with 3.07. Like I said, the last update was just a few little things. Make sure you join your Catch the King region and the 2024 mapping event in order to take data points. Again, we'll go over that with the app. Do not worry. And then visit our FAQs website if you have any questions or need help trying to come up with your mapping plan, and then connect with your Tide captain. I will be sending out a list of the Tide captains for each region tomorrow. They have all been given the volunteer names of the people who have registered, so they know who are in their area. If you have not registered yet, that is okay. We are going to make the effort to send off the new registered people to those Tide captains so they know any extras on their list. So you're not going to get left out. Don't worry. And then again, in February, March, please come to our volunteer appreciation event because we want to show you that we appreciate all that you've done. Now, here is something I'm really excited to talk about because this is my personal contribution to Catch the King and Wetlands Watch. So as I said, a lot of this work has been very data heavy, and that is not all science. So this is an arts competition called Waves of Tomorrow, Artists Respond to Rising Seas, where there is a visual arts category and a written art category for both high school and college age students that is getting judged separately. There is an anonymous donor who has given $1,000 every year for the next 5 years already to fund this arts contest. So it will survive past me, which makes me very, very happy. Where these students are able to submit either painting, sculpture, photography, mixed media, drawings, oh my, or write a short story or a poem to talk about these impacts of sea level rise and flooding in their life and in their community. We talk constantly about how there is this gap between accessibility and education with problems in the environment. And data collection is not the only way to bridge that gap. Sometimes art is. So that's why I really wanted to add that to this year, because not everybody needs to contribute with data points. Some people can contribute by making a beautiful painting, by going out and doing their photography. So I just wanted to share that. If you have any questions, please email me. And the submission deadline for that is going to be January 1st. And we have some jurors already set up. I'm still looking for a few more, but I'm really excited about this project. And then Measure the Muck. So as I said, these are the folks who go out who are partnered with us that while catching the king, they're measuring that muck and seeing what is in this king tide water. And so they are doing 2 locations this year, one at the Ryan Resilience Lab in Norfolk and the other at Gloucester Point at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. Alyssa Bushi is who's in charge of this project this year. So if you would like to participate and are in the Norfolk or Gloucester Point area, please reach out to her. You can do this QR code here to be able to register for that event. Like I said, that is partnered with us. You will be catching the king while you measure the muck. You'll be doing both. But they go out and they give you these styrofoam coolers, and you go and you collect some water samples, and then you put it in the cooler, and then you drop it off at the location, and you're all done. And Alyssa goes and does all that water quality sampling herself with some ODU student help as well. So that's a really great project that we do. That will be only on Saturday, October 19th at 10 a.m. at those 2 locations. So definitely if you're interested, reach out to her. But just wanted to share that's another option. And then lastly, there is a graduate student as well named Joe Barnes from ODU. And he is actually doing a triple threat of Catching the King, Measure the Muck, and an international coastal cleanup. So he is going to be doing all 3 projects at the Lafayette kayak launch in Norfolk. So he is doing this international coastal cleanup, like marine debris projects. So he is going to be catching the king and measuring the muck at the high tide. And then once the high tide recedes, he's going to be doing that cleanup on that rack line that is left at the low tide. So he will be there from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Probably going to be a long day for him, but for anyone that wants to participate in the cleanup or both, that is an option as well if you are in the Norfolk area, and that is his contact info there. Okay, so now we are going to do the app training. And so what I would like everyone to do is everyone knows how to use, does everyone know how to use Zoom where they like can raise your hand, react, thumbs up, all that stuff? Can I see some in the chat? Okay, I see James and Shannon got a thumbs up. CJ's got a thumbs up.
Is it in the chat? I just do the chat and then they.
Not the chat, sorry. I'll see it in my participant list. You're fine. Yeah, no, just putting up your reactions. See, Josie's got it. Dean's got it. Jimmy's got it. Waiting on Corinne and Bruce, if y'all got it.
I got it.
Awesome. And then Bruce, that react button that should be in your bottom menu bar. And this is just a way for me to know if I'm like, hey, is everyone on the same page? Let me know if you're not. This is a very small group. So if you just want to yell at me like, hey, nope, I'm not there, that's okay. But all right, let's get into app training. Okay, so, oh, now we're editing the presentation. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, this is just about the app updates. So we've addressed a lot of the issues like improving data functionality, loading the trouble spots tabbed. There is a new deletes pins function, which is being beta tested by us managers, where if you're like, I just dropped a pin in my car and they're gonna think there's a flood here, it's okay. We will see that and we will be able to get rid of that pin for you. So do not worry. If we also see your line that goes like this, and then back there, we know that that is a pin we can delete. As well as those new features that I talked about, the share your flood story and the new help page that is a direct link to a frequently asked page and the troubleshooting shooting form. And then again, just make sure you try to have the most recent update of the app for yourself and for ease of use. So if there's anyone who has everyone already downloaded and signed up on the, or at least downloaded the Sea Level Rise app? I'm gonna take that as a yes. If you have not downloaded it and you don't want to say, you can do so really quickly with these 2 QR codes, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. This is how you can download it real quick.
Do we have to delete I have 3.0.7. Do we have to delete that one?
Not right now. I would do that later. Right now,
Okay.
like you have what you need for this training. Thank you
Okay.
for asking, though. All right. So I assume everyone has it. Now, if you have not signed up yet, please do so. You're going to press you're going to open the app. You're going to press this sign up button next to create an account and fill out your information. Please, when you are signing up, use an email that you have access to right now. Because once you press sign up and have done your first name, last name, email, password, you can ignore organization name if you'd like. And then you put in your country and your zip code. You check, yes, I agree to the terms of use. You're going to get this email to that email that you submitted for your account. It is going to be from Sea Rising Solutions, and you're going to have to click on this blue verification link to be able to log into your account. And then you're going to get a message after you click on this blue link that says, thank you, you've successfully created an account, and then you will be able to log in. So, is anyone making their account right now? Go ahead and shout out for me. If you have made an account, if you haven't yet, where are you guys at?
I think I've made it.
I've made it.
Perfect.
I made it. I'm updating my profile.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Is there anyone that has not been able to log into the account? Their account? Yay! Okay, awesome. So that means that everybody is at least able to log in. So I know that you are messing with your profile. You said that's fine. Now that everybody is logged in, when they open the app, after you log in, please click on this Discover tab you see second from the bottom. When you click on this Discover tab, you are going to go into this top left corner and make sure Official is highlighted in blue.
It is.
Perfect. Now you are going to find your official region. Now this is a little tricky depending on where you are. If you are in Norfolk, you will see this little triangle of green points and you want the one on the right. I like to show the Norfolk one because it's the hardest one to find. If you are in Virginia Beach, it's right up in that like at that point, next to the water. For Williamsburg, it's pretty smack in the center. If anyone is having trouble finding their region point, please let me know.
I'm having trouble because I opened the
I'm sorry, Shannon,
into
you're
someplace in the South
glitching out
Atlantic.
a little bit. I didn't hear that. So if what you said is the pin is like glitching on you, keep hitting it until you see this white box appear.
So the
green circles are what I'm referring to as pins. These are the different regions. You want to make sure that, again, that blue official in the top corner is highlighted, and then click on your pin that says CTK Williamsburg, CTK Norfolk, CTK Virginia Beach, etc., and click that white box. Is anyone struggling to find their region pin?
the pin that is closest to me when I touch it just says measure them up. The one
Okay.
at you. And then the next closest is probably Park Place. And it says to support Catch the King. So is it that one? Is it the one in Park Place or the one at ODU?
I did wanted to say official. Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about, let me see.
I'm in Norfolk.
Yeah, so as I said, if you look at the screen, there is a little triangle of points. Do you see this triangle of points? Because the measure the muck point is that left side of the triangle, this one.
Okay, so it is the one that says at Park Place.
That says at Park Place.
I don't see that
It's
triangle.
589 followers when I look at it right now. And I
589, yes.
yes, and I'm already a member of that one.
Perfect. Then you are set up.
Even our area.
Is anyone else struggling to find their point?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yes, so I see the one that says Middle Peninsula.
Uh-huh. That's
I know a group is going to be doing there, but I'm going to be doing a more wheelchair accessible one because I'm in a wheelchair, and that's in Hartfield. Am I still part of that group?
Yes. So the Middle Peninsula refers to the whole Middle Peninsula region. So wherever you map there, you're still going to be considered in the same region. Great question, though. I will see exactly where your points are specifically, but that's still the region you joined. Thank you for checking.
Thank you.
Josie, I think I went a different way. Like the city of Williamsburg, when I press on it, talks about it like it's only for faculty or William and Mary.
So yeah, when you look at Williamsburg under official, there are two main points. There's one point directly on the Williamsburg word, and that is the William and Mary one. You want the point that is to the left of that says Williamsburg / James City County. Do you see that point?
I did. In fact, I've gone another way where I was pressing on my regions and that came up, and then I guess I
Oh, well then you might have you have done this in years past. So if you go to my regions, do you say CTK Williamsburg on there?
Yeah, right.
And you have already joined. You're ahead of the game, Bruce. You are set. Okay, so everyone who has joined a region, when you go to the My Regions tab in the bottom left corner, do you see your region like this?
It doesn't say 2024 on it yet. Oh, wait, let me touch here.
It shouldn't, like, don't look at this part yet. If you go to My Regions in the bottom left corner,
yes,
everyone sees CTK, their region that they're mapping in.
I also have 2019 on here.
Another veteran. No thumb sounds, no thumbs down, no anything in that in the chat. So I'm gonna assume
No, I see mine says no regions found.
Okay. Sorry. Was that no regions found? Yours says no regions found?
Yes.
Okay. And you joined in the Middle Peninsula?
Well, I think I did. I wasn't too sure that you meaning joining through the, not the seal, joining the Catch the King. I'm not sure that it went through.
No worries. I have to approve you. So I'm
Okay, I tried last year and the app didn't work but I think I might have been registered, but I don't know. But I'm in the Middle Peninsula.
gotcha. I will just, I'm on my phone looking right now. So just give me one moment. Okay. Going to stop sharing because I'm going to do this via my computer because it's just faster. See Rise Solutions. Okay. And then you said Middle Peninsula. And then once we have you on, that should be everyone. Let's see. Why is it not? Oh, there we go. Middle Peninsula. Followers. Are you sure you pressed join? Because I'm not seeing you pop up.
And I'll try again.
Okay.
I think I did give time last night to do it, but I'll try again. But I did click onto that QR code with my phone, so you say I can join through by using that.
Nothing else I can. Do you actually mind sharing your email? I mean, I know actually, never mind. I'm not gonna make you do that on Zoom.
I'll put it in the chat to you.
That's great. That would be great. Yeah. And that way I can send you a direct link if you can't get it to work on your own. And that should just send it right there. Perfect. And I will put that in here. Let me see. Okay. Double check your email. I just sent you an invitation.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so while she does that, I'm gonna keep going. Don't worry, I'm not pushing you behind or anything like that. So what you're gonna do is now this is for everyone who's already downloaded this app and used it in past. This is an everyone thing. So you're gonna click on your region box like this under my regions, your CTK Norfolk, your CTK Williamsburg, whatever it is. Click on that and then go to the mapping tab at the top. You should see CTK 2024, your region. Click that button, this little calendar looking guy, and then it'll show up and saying, this is the official 2024 Catch the King mapping event for October 17th to the 20th King Tide. We invite all volunteers to head out in the field to map and collect valuable flood data for our coastal communities. And you can hit that top right button that says join. This you do not need my permission for. You just press join. And then after you join that, you are able to go out and collect pins during this Thursday, October 17th from 5 a.m. to Sunday, October 20th at 11:45 p.m. Now everybody's doing that. Any luck, CJ?
I still have to do a registration page.
Yes, you still have to register just with the liability waiver. And like I said, that's just on our website and that's just filling out a quick form. But for this, you are able to now actually go into the app and collect data points.
No, Josie, it takes forever for my email. It seems to come through. Oh, you know what? So I see that I have a different email for the Sea Level Rise app. Do I have to have the same email?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Let me put up another one.
No worries.
Andrea McClellan is on here. I'm flipping through the members. Andrea McClellan is here.
Okay, if that's the correct email, current email, or old email.
Okay, just sent you that. That should work now. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Okay, so has everyone found that mapping area and pressed join?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Let me go back to sharing my screen. We are in the home stretch. I promise. Thank you for your patience with this. This is why I do this part last, because it always a little slow. Okay, so now that you have joined your region, you have joined the Catch the King mapping event. This is how you take data points. So you're going to go in the bottom right where it says tools. You're going to click on tools. Now, it's either going to say choose an event or no events found. That is okay. Since the event opens October 17th at 5 a.m., after that point, you will see Catch the King 2024, your region, pop up as the choose an event. So starting then, you will then go to this tools tab, press choose an event, press that drop down arrow, select CTK 2024, your region. And now you are taking data points. So what we have here is GPS signal strength. We like to say to try to drop points if you have 70% or higher. Sometimes it works a little bit with 60, but 70% and above is really where we'd like you to be. And then it'll tell you what your GPS coordinates are. And you are going to press simply drop pin. Now you can capture a photo, as I said, to add to this pin by simply pressing the capture photo button. If you want to try to mess with these tools now, you can. It just won't save it since you're not technically in an event. So you can capture a photo to go along with it. Like I said, if your starting point, your last point, or something interesting comes up, and then you can add an optional note. So like I said, there is a dead jellyfish on this rack line. That would be something, or this is my starting point for this flood line. So you can write in information to go along to that pinpoint that we will get as well in that big Excel spreadsheet I showed you. I will say it is kind of a PEMDAS situation. If you want to capture a photo to a specific point, take the capture photo first and then drop the pin after, because the photo attaches to whatever pin you drop after. So it's not a super big deal if your pin photo is the one in front. But if you wanted to make sure it is attached to what you want it to be, hit that capture photo button and then hit that drop pin button second. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
As I've been on the phone, the GPS signal strength has ranged from 60% to 80%. Should we wait until it's above 70% to drop a pin?
No, I would say drop it between 60 and 80. I would say 70 and up is preferred. 60 and up is okay. Once you're at 50 or less, it's not going to be very accurate. That's my range. That's what I would suggest. Thank you for asking. The last thing I want to talk about is, does everyone see that red save data button at the bottom?
Yes.
So that button is a button you do not press until you have finished your flood line. Your data is automatically saving with each pin that you drop. You don't have to press save data every time you drop a pin. This save data button is kind of like a catch-all. Okay, let me just make sure it got what I just did. Because when you press the save data button, it's going to throw you out of the mapping event and put you back in my region. So you'd have to go back into tools to get there. So yes to hitting the save data event, but make sure you just hit it at the end of your flood line or the end of your tide line for like just ease. It's mostly there for ease of mind to know, yes, my data did save, but do not hit it as you are dropping pins, because you're going to continue to have to go back into the tools tab because it'll shoot you out. So does that make sense that it's kind of like a save at the end, but your information should be getting saved as you go?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Sorry,
do you have
Joseph,
another-
could you
have
send the
another
email
question?
again?
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna finish and then I will help you one-on-one. So if
Thank
any
you.
out,
Thank
they-
you.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
You said we have about an hour range. If high tide is say, king tide is say 11:15, is it a half hour before and a half hour after that, or does it begin at 11:15?
So high tide, that's a great question. So like high tide, if it's at 11:15, that is the highest point. It's going to be at 11:15. So I always suggest get there a half an hour before. And that way you can start taking data up into that high tide line. So you make sure you get that high tide and then take data for up to 30 minutes after. So that's why we like to say kind of an hour range. I hope that makes sense. That answer your question?
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, and then this just kind of reiterates what I said about the drop pin button, that the save data will exit you out of the tools tab, making sure your GPS signal is high enough. And it says select the appropriate event, but hopefully this will be the only event that you have on yours, or it'll be very clear which one to press. And so that's why we have that. And then again, visit your flood location ahead of time, just so you know where you're going to be mapping and if it's safe to do so. Let me see. Oh, okay. So if you want to be like, hey, I know I pressed save and I know that it was saving my data, but I just want to make sure I can see my data, or I want to go see my data later, here's what you do. You click once again on your region in the My Regions tab. You then go again to mapping to the event that you're doing, aka the CTK 2024, your region, and then hit pins to look at your pinpoints, or hit photos to look at your photos. So do not do this immediately after and then be like, oh God, it didn't save because I don't see any of my photos. It can take a little bit for photos upload and for all that pin data to save. So give it a second, but this is a really great resource for you to be able to go back and look at later about the data you're contributing. And then messages. So this is what I was talking about with Bruce of like, hey, like, how do I know where people are going to be? If you go to, again, tapping your region, and then instead of hitting mapping, hitting messages, you will see messages from us, from tide captains, and from volunteers on where they plan on mapping in your area. And if you would like to share where you are mapping, please feel free to. That way people know, hey, like, I planned on going to Jamestown Beach, but it seems like this person already is. Maybe I can reach out to them and see like, see if we can meet up at a time together, or if we should do different times, or if they're mapping on Saturday, I can map on Sunday, whatever. But this is just a messaging way for people in the same region to be able to connect on where they're going to be and when.
Josie,
Okay.
back
Yeah.
to the pins, sorry.
No problem.
When you hit the pins, are you just looking at your pins, or are you looking at other people's at the same time?
Great question. So you will look, when you click pins, you will see everybody's pins from that region that day, like that event. So when I hit pins for CTK 2024 Williamsburg, I'm going to see all the pins that were taken in Williamsburg during this event. However, that includes your pins. So if you know where you mapped, if you're like, okay, I know that I mapped at this beach on the Colonial Parkway, all you simply have to do is go over to the Colonial Parkway where you mapped and click on those pins to see that they're yours.
That's great. That tells me, yeah, if somebody's over in some place, well, okay, maybe I don't have to go over there.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great way to check for sure. Yeah, like if you're saying like I was planning on mapping on Sunday, but I don't know where everybody went on Saturday, you can easily go to the pins tab and see what pins have been dropped for this 2024 season already. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now because we are on questions time. And I'm going to stop recording as well, probably. Let me do that.